great, baby. Let's be great. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's be great. 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 Bring that tight.
Russell stepping up in the pocket. Has a little room. Pulls it down. Oh, touchdown! Seahawks!
Love you, boys, man. Let's keep going.
Russell's going to throw down the seam. Touchdown! Seahawks!
Big time right there, boys. Big time.
Holy catfish, what a play. What a drive. And the 12 are going nuts.
Well, they call him Dangerous, and so are we. You're watching Total Access. We're taking you into weekend. I'm Cole Wright, David Carr, Reggie Wayne, and Mike Giardi. They're going to join me in just a few, and we have plenty to get to on a busy Friday, but we begin with the guy you just saw, the future of Sierra's main squeeze, Russell Wilson. Because what lies ahead for the Super Bowl winning quarterback? Well, a huge payday, some suspect. Last week, Wilson, a guest on Jimmy Fallon, and when the topic of becoming the highest paid quarterback in the history of the game was approached, well, the Seahawks' biggest puzzle piece said there's great potential to that, and, quote, we'll see what happens. So let's see what happens with Mike Garafolo joining the show now from the friendly confines of his house. So, Mike, when it comes to the likelihood that Russ signing a mega deal with his Seahawks, where's it at right now?
He's going to sign a mega deal with somebody at some point. The question is, will it be Seattle? And the last time they went through this, he and his agent asked for huge numbers, right up to the point that they set a deadline to do the extension, which was right before training camp. And the Seahawks gave him a deal under Aaron Rodgers at the time, even though Rodgers' deal was a couple of years in the going there. So now, if you're looking at Rodgers at the top of the quarterback market at $33.5 million, and Wilson talking about the potential to jump that number, which means he'd like to jump that number. So now Seattle's got to look at this and say, okay, do we want to jump that number? Do we want to pay him top quarterback money? We got a lot of guys that we want to pay on this team, including defensive end Frank Clark. So we'll see how this negotiation goes this offseason. The part that I find interesting is, does Seattle now look to the draft and say, well, maybe we've got to, at some point, pick a quarterback up high at some point and start to potentially build for the future beyond Russell Wilson? We shall see. Wilson thinks he's got 10 to 15 more years in him. How many in Seattle? I think that's the question.
Wow, 10 to 15 more years. Quite the time frame. Mike, we're going to get back with you in just a second. But in the meantime, let's go back to Russell Wilson and look at that offensive production over the last two seasons. Now, nobody does it better than Wilson. 9 more touchdowns than Tom Brady and Jared Goff, and 7 ahead of Big Ben Roethlisberger. So everyone is now in tow. David Carr's here, Reggie Wayne, and so is Mike Giardi. And when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks giving Russell Wilson, David, that mega deal, is this good for the team or would this be bad for the team? What do you think?
Well, that's really the question.
It is.
Is it good for the team or not? And I think it's absolutely brilliant for the team. You have to. Russell Wilson's the most valuable player to any one team in the entire National Football League.
Really?
You saw the 72 touchdowns, and with what around him? And Doug Baldwin, you got some receivers, but it's no Antonio Brown, no Le'Veon Bell. All these other guys on the list have a ton of talent, great coaching. He does it himself. The guy goes out there last year, not anyone really gave them a chance to even compete for the playoffs.
True.
But he goes out there and makes them a formidable opponent. So I think it's a no-brainer for the Seahawks. I think they have to do it. Really, the ball is in Russell Wilson's court. He can decide what he wants. If he asks for huge numbers, how does that affect your team? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that when you start asking for those big bucks at the quarterback position. But he's the one guy, I think, that can handle that because we've seen what he's had around him, and he's still been successful.
Reggie, why would it be the best move for Seattle to say, okay, here's our billfold, let's open it up, Russell, take whatever you want?
Well, you know how hard it is to find a good quarterback in this league?
Yeah.
Ask the Cleveland Browns. They went through 29 starting quarterbacks since 1999. 29, right?
Yeah.
This guy, he's second behind, since 2012, second behind Tom Brady with the most wins, right? This guy is special. You would think from the outside looking in, this is the reason why they get rid of the strong personality guys, such as Richard Sherman, Michael Bennett, those guys like that, so Russell Wilson can have the voice. He can run the locker room. And then the next thing is, I've always been told the best ability is availability. He's always available. Yeah. He's always there. Now, he may be on the injury list, but he's always at the game and he's durable. Russell Wilson, that's your guy.
Good idea for them to lock him up?
I go with Reggie on this one. It's so hard to find good quarterbacks, and you not only find a good quarterback, you find an elite quarterback, and you have made changes. You've cut ties with the Legion of Boom. You've sort of given the team to him. So now all of a sudden you've given the team to him. You sort of made him the leader, and you put him on the pedestal. Now you're going to say, we're not going to pay you. We'll give you $25 million, but we're not going to give you 30. We'll give you 30, but we're not going to give you 35. Like, he has them. You know, he has the hammer in this one.
Yeah.
They got to pay him.
Yeah.
75 career wins for Russell Wilson. That's the most in any quarterback's career in their first 7 seasons. And let's bring Mike Garafolo back into the discussion. Mike, what do you think? Is it the good thing for the Seattle Seahawks to pay Russell Wilson if and when they approach that topic?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the quarterback numbers are starting to really drift up. The question that I have is, do you want to eclipse that number of Aaron Rodgers, or do you want to try and come underneath it? And Russell Wilson has been one of the bright spots for the Seattle Seahawks, has kept them competitive despite the fact that their offensive line hasn't been great at times. I'm sure that's going to be his argument as he goes into this one, saying, without me, I don't know how competitive you would have been these last couple of years because of his ability to avoid the pressure at times. Now, they have now focused more on the offensive line. They're trying to get more stout up the middle. So they are trying to do their best to field a complete team in front of them. But the question is, do you want to commit that much money when you know you've got some other guys that you need to take care of? Bobby Wagner, middle linebacker, was at the top of the middle linebacker market. That thing blew up recently with the C.J. Mosley deal. You know he's going to want a new deal soon.
Let's keep talking about those big money deals. Let's move to Julio Jones. What does he expect from Atlanta when it comes to his contract?
He expects to be the top-paid wide receiver. And the Falcons made that clear last year. When they moved up some money, they said, all right, next offseason, we're going to address this. He'll have 2 years left in his deal, so then we'll redo the deal completely, not just move some money around. The thing with the receiver market, though, in talking to some folks involved there or going to be involved there in the near future is, what's the number? What's the top of the market? It was Odell Beckham at $18 million, but then Antonio Brown got a new deal with the Raiders, and he and his agent, his camp, did some creative accounting and said, well, if you add what he got from the Steelers to what he's getting from the Raiders, it's $19.8 million. But teams are looking at it saying, no, the average is 16, and Beckham's still there at 18. So the Falcons, Julio Jones, and some other receivers going to be coming up in the near future looking at it and saying, we want to be in the 20s now, and we want to be well into the 20s because Brown's right there. So that's going to be the conversation between these sides, but it'll get done at some point, I believe.
All right, let's move along to the defensive side of the ball. Ziggy Ansah, certain team right there, showing some interest, Mike?
The Buffalo Bills and Brandon Beane, the general manager, said that they're at a standstill right now. And I can't speak to the Bills specifically, but I do know that some teams that have looked into Ansah as a free agent have said, you know what, the injury history scares us a little bit. He had a shoulder injury this past season that they're still keeping an eye on. So perhaps that's what's holding things up for Buffalo. Ansah probably thinks he's deserving of one of the top pass rusher deals, but you got to stay on the field for that. You got to do it consistently. So perhaps could be a one-year deal in his future to prove that he can stay healthy and then try and hit it big next year.
Yeah, just 7 games in 2018 for Ansah, but he registered 4 sacks. He's very productive. Mike Garafolo, so is he. Mike, thanks for the insight. Now we move along to the all-knowing Daniel Jeremiah. Here's his top 10 ahead of draft day, April 25th, of course, in Nashville, Tennessee. Kyler Murray, well, he's the straw that's stirring the drink right now, gaining all that offensive attention. But how about on the defensive side of the rock? Josh Allen, coming off the edge out of the University of Kentucky, piquing plenty of interest as draft day inches closer. Now in Lexington, that all-world edge rusher, Allen, did not take part in the Kentucky Pro Day on Friday. Instead, opting for his stats and combine footage to do all of the talk. Allen taking home the Bednarik Award, the Nagurski Award, the Jack Lambert Award, and basically every other piece of hardware when it comes to 2018. So time now for a Pro Day report presented by Lowe's. Josh Allen was getting up close and personal with Tom Pelissero.
Josh, you opted to stand on everything that you did at the Combine. Was any part of you thinking about coming out here and try to show a little something extra today?
Yeah, just watching all the guys go, I just wanted to be a part of them. Just wanted to, show, I don't know, I just wanted to do something. But it's hard not to do something, just watch. But, I'm here to support my teammates and, wish them nothing but the best and, cheer them on.
I know you had dinner with Mike Mayock and the Raiders last night. What was that conversation like, and who else have you spoken to here?
It was a lot of casual talk. We just got to know each other. I really haven't met with a lot of other teams as well, not yet, so I'm really just taking it day by day. Whoever grabbed me, that's who talked to me at the time, so.
You, Quinnen Williams, and Nick Bosa are going to be tied together. We're going to be talking about this for the next 5 weeks. What's your case right now? You've now met these guys. You've seen a little bit of them. What's your case to be the first defensive player off the board?
I mean, my film speaks. Quinnen is a dog. Nick Bosa's a dog. You know, we all just all top guys. We're all like all alpha dogs at what we do. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard when you have 3 alpha dogs at the top spot, and you know, every guy they film speaks for itself. But you know, having 17 sacks in the SEC and dropping in coverage and doing everything I did it's pretty hard. But you know, I'm just going to stay right there.
So for the next 5 weeks, you will continue to speak with teams, meet with teams. When you talk to them, what are you going to try to convey to sell them one last time on you as a player and a person?
Like I said, I don't have to sell anymore. You know, they know what type of player they're going to get. So now I just got to show them what type of person I am off the field. And hopefully that goes well. I think it's going to go well because I think I'm a pretty cool dude. But, you know, it is what it is.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
So thank you for having me on.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Let's take a look at where Josh Allen is slotted to go when it comes to our experts' mock drafts. Lance has him going number 3 to the Jets, while Bucky and Charles have him going number 4 to the Silver and Black. And if I had to take a guess, something tells me that David Carr loves the way
Bucky,
that sounds.
I like how that sounds. That sounds really good, actually.
How about it? Josh Allen to the Oakland Raiders. What would be the best fit in your eyes?
Well, I mean, good pass rushers are, what are they?
They're hard to find.
So there's one right there in front of you. Hopefully he sneaks past the Jets, right? But when you look at him on film, the guy is an incredible pass rusher. But the thing that I love the most about him, his best quality is that he ends games. Like he would go out and find ways to get to the quarterback at the end of the game, strip the ball, and knock it out. And that's what you have to do. If the Raiders added some pieces on offense and they're going to score more points, the defense at some point is going to be in a position where they got to take the ball away from a good quarterback on the other side, get the ball back, stop the game. And that's his best quality by far. He's a great pass rusher. He has everything that you want, but he knows when to make those plays, and he goes out there and does it. So
Game record. Game stopper,
record,
one of those war daddies, as Willie McGinnis calls him. What do you think? What would be the best fit for Josh Allen, Reggie?
I like what Bucky and Charles said. The Raiders, right?
Okay.
The Raiders are still filling the raft for letting Khalil Mack walk out that door, right? They're still trying to fill that void. So why not get a guy that comes out of college who just had 17 sacks his last year playing, right? This guy is a game changer. He's a wrecker. That's what he does. He comes in, and as David said, whenever you're going up against these offenses now, you got to get the ball back to the offense so you can score points, right? So getting him in there would be a perfect fit. Kind of get the fans back cheering for him, get somebody to get off the sacks. Once Khalil Mack left out of there, their team finished dead last in sacks with 13 sacks. The next lowest team was the Patriots and the Giants with 30.
Oof.
That's a big drop-off.
Huge.
You need somebody to get out for the
So we have 2 guys voting for the Oakland Raiders. Mike Giardi, what do you say? Best fit?
I don't think you should get past the Jets. If you look at
Dang
the
it,
Jets,
Mike.
he's a bad man, and they need a bad man because you look at their defense. C.J. Mosley, he qualifies as that. Leonard Williams hasn't quite had the production for the kind of draft pick he is, although they still love him as a player. Jamal Adams at safety, but they need somebody coming off the edge. You look at that division, who do you have to go through? You have to go through the Patriots. How do you go through the Patriots? Well, you got to get Tom Brady off his spot, up the middle, and from the outside, this guy can do it. But I love the fact that he is a complete player. If you have to drop him back into coverage, which maybe you don't want to do when you have 17 sacks, but if you have to, he can do that as well. I just think he's one of those complete players, and I love the jump he made from last year to this year. Stayed in, bet on himself, 17 sacks from 7 the year before. That's the guy.
Yeah, he was a busy man. Those 17 sacks that both of you guys make mention of, second in 2018 in the FBS, looking to take some of his game from Saturdays to Sundays. So we will see. Will he be the next big thing? Well, that's what we're going to ask you. Who will be the next big thing? Who's going to hit the NFL like a lightning bolt? Well, take to social media, let your voice be heard. Tweet us, please, at #NextBigThing. A big reveal is going to come your way a little bit later. It's for Buffalo, while Lev Bell and Jamison Crowder hoping to lift the Jets' offensive spirits. And the AFC East, of course, Pats and the Finns making some minimal moves. And, Mike, we know that you cover the Patriots right off of Interstate 95 like a blanket. But how big of a power shift is there in this division, if at all?
Well, the Jets have been big splash, right, all offseason. Like they like the great Hambino in the Sandlot, making the big splash.
Porter,
right.
Absolutely.
So that's great. The Bills have gotten better. They've addressed a bunch of different needs, but have anybody gotten close to the Patriots at this point? No. And look, the Patriots, they still have needs on their roster. They got no wide receivers. They got Edelman. They bring back Dorsett. Those are the 2 wide receivers that caught passes from Tom Brady last year. They're spending more right now on special teams only players than they are at the wide receiver position. You'd think that they might want to flip that with Tom Brady at quarterback, but you have Tom Brady at quarterback, you have Bill Belichick, and you have a defense that really found its way late in the year last year. And sort of the backbone of them winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, better late than never. DC, what do you think? Have the Jets, have they done enough in the offseason and free agency? Have they done enough to topple the Patriots?
I think just the fact that they've helped Sam Darnold out is the biggest thing for me. When you have a young quarterback like that and he plays well his first year, then you come into that second year, you're just looking for some assistance, right? You got a guy, you know you have the guy, right? You know you have a guy that you can lean on and you can go out and make plays. So you go get him a guard, you go get KO from Oakland. He's a great football player, still has some physicality to him. He's an angry guy. He's going to really solidify that offensive line. You put Le'Veon Bell out there, then you go and you get C.J. Mosley. You get some guys to get the ball back for your quarterback. You bring in Adam Gase, who's going to help him create offense. He's going to go. He doesn't have to just will it himself. There's actually going to be some creative stuff that gives him some completions. You get a Jamison Crowder, you put him in the slot, you throw him a ton of footballs. This all is good signs if you're Sam Darnold, if you're a Jets fan, because now you got a quarterback and you got a chance. Now, are you going to be better than the Patriots? It remains to be seen. You'll play them twice, and you're going to have a whole division to figure out, but it's a good start.
I was going to say, basically, you're telling me no. Did they do enough to topple the Patriots? No.
I was thinking about it.
They helped Sam Darnold, but they haven't really done enough.
Yeah,
he went all the way around the block
game
just to get next door. Reggie, what do you think? Have the Jets, have they done enough?
I don't think they've done enough, but I think they're headed in the right direction, right?
Okay,
so
good
you
point.
look at the Jets, you look at Sam Darnold, right? You get him help. Sam Darnold being able to turn around and hand that ball off to Lev Bell, right? Not only that, he can throw it to him whenever that check down. He's always there to save that quarterback, right? Okay. But when you look at it, what receivers do they have on the team? They got Robbie Anderson, who only started 9 games last year. Quincy Enunwa, who only played 10 games last year. They bring in Jamison Crowder, who had a down year last year, only played 9 games. So you look at Lev Bell, he's actually a running back and a receiver.
The best
right?
wide receiver.
Exactly. He's the best receiver on that team. Okay. So him being there can kind of, I won't say take him over the edge, but they kind of help him, Band-Aid it up a little bit until they figure out the rest of those needs.
I'm athletic tape and popsicle sticks.
Yeah,
who wins the division?
The Patriots.
Okay.
But they are more vulnerable than they've been. They were more vulnerable last year, but there was no one in the division that could take advantage of it. We haven't mentioned Miami, by the way. Is there?
Oh, well, I think they took themselves
for a reason.
out of
Okay.
Who wins the division, Reggie? What do you say?
I'm not going to shake your hand until you beat them, the Patriots.
Patriots, DC.
Yeah.
Go without saying. New England Patriots.
We'll go with the Jets.
Taking it home. And by the way,
I'm sorry, a little fastball right there.
just like that. You're getting crossed up a little bit. The Patriots, by the way, the only team in the division with a winning record in 2018. So all those other squads will have their work cut out for them. Let's make this move to Baton Rouge, where 2 of Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects were on the turf at LSU's Pro Day Friday. Linebacker Devin White, who's listed at number 8, and Greedy Williams, 31st on DJ's big board. Both projected first-rounders. And our Jane Slater, she has more from the Red Stick.
All 32 teams in attendance here at LSU's Pro Day, along with 5 Canadian teams and 2 scouts from Major League Rugby. All eyes focused on what are considered 2 of this year's best defensive players in the draft. Corner Greedy Williams saw his combine cut short when he pulled up with cramps following his 4.37 40. So today, the drills were important. Considered one of the top cover corners in the draft, there are still lingering questions about his ability to tackle. On that, he told me because they play a lot of man coverage here, he hasn't been able to show that, but would have no problem in his own scheme. As for playing press corner at his current weight, well, he plans on getting back up to 185. After talking to a number of team officials, linebacker Devin White didn't have too much to address today. With the fastest time among linebackers at the Combine, he proved equally quick as well. With one GM telling me he doesn't seem to have any athletic limitations. White tells me he already has visits set up with some of the top teams picking in the draft, among them the Giants, the Bucks, and the Raiders.
Thank you, Jane. And the resumes, they speak volumes. White, Nike's newest signee. He was the Butkus recipient as the nation's top linebacker. In the meantime, Williams and Kareem Hunt. So what better place to start than the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And, of course, the Browns looking to roll the division this year. And, Mike, we'll begin with you. The AFC North. Has it been turned on its ear so far?
I think it absolutely has. Okay. Cleveland has clearly gone all in after making a big run last year and showing more life than they have in, what did you say, 1999 was the last
it's been
time?
a while.
They haven't been in the playoffs for a long, long time. Yeah. Baker has that big personality, but the arm to back it up. They've gone in, but now, Freddie Kitchens, it's your first year as the head coach of this football team, right? You did a great job as the OC, but nobody knew who you were. Now you're the guy. Now you got to handle Baker's ego, Odell's ego, Landry's ego. You got a lot on your plate, and I think he's immediately, just because of the expectations now, he's on the hot seat right out of the chute.
Year one, already on the hot seat?
Year one, man. They're expecting to be a playoff team this year.
Reggie, what do you think? Have the tides turned in the division?
I think the tides have turned. I mean, I'm not all the way on that train. I got my hand on the rail, my foot on the step.
You're still running, trying to
I
jump
got that
up
one leg
last
dragging.
second.
You're still running like 4 or 5.
You know, but if you sit up and you look at the Browns, you see what they're doing. Just think about the way they finished the season last year.
Hot.
You talk about how competitive they made it, right? They're feeling the Baker Mayfield. They're feeling the swag, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the OBJ, bringing him into the fold, right?
Yeah.
People forget OBJ. Since he came in the league, he's in all the receiving major categories. He's in the top 5. He's a difference maker.
Yeah.
He's one of those type of receivers that you won't see in this league. His type of play in a very long
they don't
time.
come
Like they
around
don't
very
come like
often.
that,
He's a
right?
once in a decade.
Exactly. So bringing him to the fold with Jarvis Landry, with Njoku, you still got Chubb in the backfield.
Yeah.
You got the swag of Baker Mayfield. You talked about it with Kitchen. If he can control those egos, like Mike said, I think we see the Cleveland Browns that we've been waiting to see for a long, long, long time, and they got the firepower to do it.
Before I get to DC about the division, Reggie, what do you think? Will OBJ be better or the same kind of receiver that he was in New York?
He should be the same.
Okay.
Listen, he's going to be ready. He's going to be out there playing. He's going to give you everything he's got. But now Baker Mayfield has more weapons that he have to spread that ball to.
Okay.
So you may not see him getting, 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
But one thing about it, whenever he has the ball in his hands, he's a problem. He's a difference maker.
Okay, DC, what do you think? The division look a little bit different this time around?
Yeah, but the Steelers, I mean, we can't just write these guys off.
Not yet, right?
You know, for me, like the one group that comes to Ben's defense every time there's comments about him made is the offensive line. They're still there.
Yeah, they are.
James Conner's still there, right? He played some good football last year with Le'Veon set out the whole year. I think they got a good football team. I wouldn't give up on these guys too quickly. Obviously, they got some holes to fill. Jesse James not going to be there, right? Antonio Brown, what does that look like for Juju now? Because the coverage is, as Reggie knows, the coverage is going to change when you're the only guy out there. So you're going to need some help from the other side with Washington, and there's some guys that are going to have to step up. But I still think Ben Roethlisberger can play some football, and they got a good offensive line. They got a chance.
The Ewing effect, right? When Patrick left, is this now that with no Bell and no Brown, all of a sudden this team say, all right, we can kind of remake ourselves. We still have Ben, who's an elite talent. Okay. We can sort of now it's our turn to be the guys and maybe take that leap. They're going to be tough. They'll be tough.
And not only that, Big Ben, he'll have a big chip on his shoulder. He'll be out there trying to prove a point. With everybody going off on him this offseason. So he'll be trying to.
And just quickly, with the Ravens, right? We didn't mention them, but they lost a lot of guys, right? You got Weddle, Suggs, C.J. Mosley left. I mean, that's some big shoes to fill as far as experience on the defensive side of the ball. So don't just automatically think they're going to win 10
Cincinnati
games.
Bengals.
Let's move along because the Browns haven't made the postseason since 2002. It's been a while.
Yeah. Kyler Murray, your 2018 Heisman Trophy winner.
He has no issues when it comes to making throws all over the field. He's a special athlete.
Drew Lock. Well, the footwork was very crisp outside the pocket. That was impressive. There's some big-time throws today.
Dwayne Haskins is your guy. He can make every throw in the book. The playbook is wide open for you.
He's had a really good day. I do feel like we're going to see 3 of these quarterbacks in the top 15 when it's all said and done.
All right, Bucky Brooks, our resident former scout, former second-round draft pick. Hear how he has his top quarterback stacked up when it comes to talent, not necessarily draft order. Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, and Ryan Finley rounding out that top 5. So let's discuss with our resident quarterback, David Carr. We're going to talk about 2 of these guys, and we're going to start with the apple of Bucky's eye. You see him right there. He's a good passer.
Dwayne Haskins.
You've seen his numbers. What do you think about him?
He's a great passer. And what he did at the Pro Day was exactly what he wanted to do, show some of his weaknesses that he'd been working on. When you watch him on film, a lot of it is he doesn't move really well, reset his feet, and then still be able to stay an accurate passer. And he highlighted that. That was a really good job by him, utilizing the Pro Day when everyone shows up to show, I can throw the ball down the field, but I can also move, reset my feet like he does here. Steps up, there's a curl route on the move. Can you throw on the run? Nice throw down the sideline, big play. He did that consistently throughout the entire day. And then again, deep 7-step drop, climb up in the pocket, really move, kind of reset your body to where you're not just a statue back there at 7 yards. And I thought he did very well. And I think that I don't think it could have gone any better for him, honestly. It was really good for him.
Yeah, it's funny that he showed all that off during his Pro Day because I thought he was more of a runner.
Yeah.
I thought he was more of a
just
runner,
talk to
David.
certain people.
Some people say that.
You'd think.
All right, let's make the move from Columbus to Columbia. How about Drew Lock? What are your thoughts on him?
Drew Lock's a guy that when you watch film, he looks the part, right? But what he showed on Pro Day was not confusing to me, but I just wish he would have done more of not so much creative stuff and hectic plays. Like, this is great, but I think it's a product of him living too close to Pat Mahomes, Cole, like you mentioned earlier, right? He tried to show too much of, I'm just going to be a loose cannon and throw the ball. And these are great throws. I mean, moving around, dancing back by the coaches and back by the staff and falling into the gate.
It's so unorthodox.
It's so unorthodox, right? But I get it, right? The MVP of the league does this all the time, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Drew just standing there, sliding the pocket. You got a nice big arm. You're accurate. I mean, he can play football. He had 40 starts in college. He's a good quarterback. He's going to go to a good team. I think that what he showed was just, I can be that creative guy, and I think that maybe I'm going to blame Pat Mahomes on that.
Is the Patrick Mahomes effect what we saw a few years back when it came to basketball in the NBA with the Steph Curry effect? Every single kid that you saw out on the blacktop, they're shooting exactly from the other side of the court.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly what happened. He's a young kid, but he's
you see the tweet right there, I will be a steal wherever I go. Bet on it. So let's take a glance at Dez Bryant's career numbers. A 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, 838 receiving yards in 2017. However, his last 1,000-plus season came all the way in 2014, and that was a long time ago. And back here with Reggie Wayne, Dez Bryant, still just 30 years old, turns 31 on November 4th, but can he still bring something to the table? What do you say?
You know what, Dez Bryant is doing a great job of reminding everybody, hey, I'm still out here. So he's using social media to remind everybody, right, that he's ready to go.
Okay.
Bet on it, right? Yep. But one thing about Dez Bryant, he's coming off an Achilles injury.
Okay.
That is a tough injury to come from, Cole. You mentioned he's 30 years old. And whenever I talk to all the guys in the league, whether it's scouts or whether it's coaches, they always bring up one thing about Dez Bryant. They say his separation. He's not able to separate the way he used to.
Lack of explosiveness.
Exactly.
Okay.
So a guy coming off an Achilles that's already was kind of slowing down towards the end of his career, and he's 30 years old, it's tough. So he's got an uphill battle. That's why he's using that social media. He's showing people that he's working. He's still grinding. He's still getting after it. He still has a love for the game. But he's got an uphill battle. So hopefully he's doing everything and he's on track to get back out there on the playing field. But once he gets back, he's got some work to do.
If he comes back, it will clearly be in a limited role. Is there a certain team out there you think would be the perfect fit for Dez Bryant? It looked as if he was going to bring a little something to the table last year for the Saints, but it never really
Well,
materialized.
see, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Dez Bryant's at a situation where nobody grabs him early, so he's got to be patient, basically like how he did last year.
Okay.
And the way it is he comes into a team that loses a guy to an injury or getting ready to make the playoffs like the Saints were.
Okay.
And he can kind of give him that playoff push because that's what the Saints had him for.
Okay.
They had him exactly for the playoffs because he played in big games. So he was prepared for that, and I think that's kind of how it's going to be this year.
Well, when he had over 1,000 yards back in 2014, he also had 16 touchdowns. But since then, 3, 8, and 6, and 15, 16, and 17, respectively. Now we move along to another wide receiver, Antonio Brown, who came up 1 touchdown shy of Bryant's 2014 total, setting a personal best 15 house calls a season ago, and he'll now be catching touchdowns in Oakland with Derek Carr. Maybe his older brother, David, would like to discuss how they're going to fit together with Mike Giardi. Guys?
He better be. He's on the hot seat right now.
Yeah,
So we look at your brother, we look at Antonio Brown, and we say, well, big names, potential big-time performers. It just happens like that.
Yeah.
Not so fast, right?
Not so fast. Not so fast is exactly right. What was interesting about Antonio signing with the Raiders is he went right to work. And you heard that from John, and you kind of knew that was the talk, that Antonio was going to go out and he's going to outwork everybody and he's going to give everything he has. But he literally signs, goes out to the field, starts working with Derek. The next day, they go work out again. Every time I'm calling my brother and texting him, asking what he's doing, he's like, we're going to work out with Antonio again. These guys just put in nonstop work. There's a reason why he's good. There's a reason why he scores 15 touchdowns, 1,500 yards pretty much every year, because he puts in the effort. I mean, the guy travels. He comes to my brother's son's birthday party. We're up there in Fresno. He travels with a nutritionist, with a guy that cooks food for him, with a physical therapist. Like, they all come with him. Like, he has an entourage of people that are solely dedicated to making sure that he's at top physical condition in March. Like, that's how dedicated this guy is. So it's really been eye-opening for me. You know, a lot of guys are talented, and they don't necessarily go out there and get everything out of it. This dude gets every possible ounce of talent out of his ability, and it's really impressive to see, because it's fun for me as a brother, as a fan of football, to watch the guy that is that talented but then works that hard. It's a great pairing because they both work the same way.
Quickly, with what the Raiders have done on offense, Trent Brown at left tackle, trading for Antonio.
Yeah.
Terrell Williams. pressure's on your brother. I mean, do you feel like
it would look like that, right? But I think that Derek, when you talk to him about this, he's so relieved to have that help because they had 2 starting tackles last year that were rookies, and that was difficult. Those guys were struggling. They went through the whole season. They battled, but it was tough. And there were times you go through the AFC West. I mean, there's some great pass rushers in there, and it was very difficult at times for them to motivate anything or to get anything going on offense. Their leading receiver was a tight end. Their second leading receiver was a running back. Their third leading receiver was Jordy Nelson. He's no longer with the team. They've brought in some good pieces. Terrell Williams, I think, is the biggest factor, obviously with Trent Brown and those guys. But Terrell Williams is going to really help opposite Antonio Brown, give those guys some punch. Derek's excited. He's not anxious about anything.
He's going to have to learn when Antonio decides he's just going to do his own thing.
Yeah, he likes to freeform a little bit, but that's all right.
All right, Cole occasionally has been known to do that as well.
No, Mike, we know you travel with a nutritionist as well, but how about Pro Day? In 2018, Williams, second-team All-American. He's also tabbed at number 31 in DJ's best draft prospects. And Williams, well, he caught up early with Jane Slater on Friday.
All right, Grady, how did today's Pro Day compare to your workout in Indy?
I cramped up in Indy, so I did the 40, came here and did everything else I felt like I needed to do, which was, the bench, the broad, the vert, and then obvious position drills.
How do you think you did?
I think I did very well, showed the scouts, I can move pretty well, Everybody was calling, questioning, asking, is he tight? So, coming out today, proving everybody, showing what I can do, it was, big for me today.
One of the things that really stands out to me about you is just how much you love being a father.
Right.
Chloe seems to be such a prominent part of your life. We saw her here today at Pro Day. How does that motivate you even more in this process?
Just watching her, doing it for her, she's got a daughter, back there, clapping you on, just happy for, see dad, doing great things. So, just want to lead the way for her, show her that I was the best at everything I did. So, just being that type of father figure towards my daughter, one of the biggest things in my life. So, just stepping up for her, being her role model, and, just, being a father at the end of the day.
Well, best of luck to you. I'm certainly cheering for you, and Chloe's certainly lucky to have a dad like you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
All right, let's move to Devin White, LSU linebacker, number 8 on DJ's list of top prospects, taking home the Butkus Award as the nation's top linebacker in 2018 after he showcased his skills at Pro Day alongside Grady. He caught up with Jane as well. Let's listen in.
Devin, you had an impressive combine, specifically in the 40. Now, you didn't do the 40 here today at your Pro Day, but why go through the drills?
I feel like teams, wanted to see me do it again. And I also didn't want to be the guy that didn't do nothing while my brother was out there working their tail off. So I gave them extra motivation. And I knew I was going to look pretty well. I'm always good. So I went out there and did it again.
They ran you pretty hard. How did you feel today?
I knew they was going to try to get it out of me. They were going to try to see, was I still conditioning? Even though I killed the combine, I'm a guy that I'm always working. Even if I ain't posting or nobody watching, I'm always working. So I just went out there and showed, I'm going to be prepared every time, whatever situation you put me in.
Just walking around here and talking to some of the staffers here at LSU, they talk about your relentless work ethic. With that being said, so many people rush to get to the NFL. You took your time. Why was that?
LSU is the best school in the world. And I knew, I was around the best people, and I made a lifelong decision by coming here. And I wasn't ready to give it up yet. But now I got to be a grown man. Now I got to make decisions. I got to pay bills. I got to pay taxes. So I wasn't ready for all that. But I knew if I had put myself in that situation, I'm mature enough that I could handle it.
Appreciate you coming and talking to us, catching a little bit of breath. But I know you definitely wowed some people out there. You certainly wowed me today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank y'all for being here. It's the best Pro Day. All 32 teams always come to watch the Tigers. So, hope to see you back next year talking with some of the great Tigers next year.
Thanks, guys.
Well, plenty of great Tigers in the National Football League, and here's some great players from other schools, as it's according to Daniel Jeremiah. The top 50 prospects, we've seen them at the Pro Days all week long, from Nick Bosa to Josh Jacobs to the pair down in Baton Rouge, and we saw them all right here. And here now, our path to the draft crew: Colleen, Baldy, Bucky, and MJD. We need those standout performers.
Out here with the Path to the Draft crew, we got Bucky Brooks, Maurice Jones-Drew, and Brian Baldinger. And guys, we've seen a ton of amazing pro days so far. So who helped themselves the most at their pro day? Bucky.
Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State killed his pro day, and he killed it because he was able to show everyone that he's a spectacular thrower from the pocket. The league has been dominated by pocket passers for the last 30 years. Dwayne Haskins fits that mold. When you think about the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Mannings, the guys that have consistently won at a high level, Dwayne Haskins shows that kind of stuff. Has big-time arm talent, high IQ, and is a nice leader. I believe he's going to be a star in this league.
You're going with the Buckeye. What about you, MJD?
For me, it's going to be Will Greer out of West Virginia. I think his pro day, he kind of shows some accuracy, some different things that people were questioning. And, from what I'm understanding, he had a phenomenal meal, too. People were meeting with him.
Two meals.
He did a great job. He had 2 meals. So anytime people were willing to take you out to dinner, because I never got taken out to dinner when I was coming out in this process, so I know people must like you. And at this position, the quarterback position, you're looking for a guy who's accurate and can do the right things. And guess what? This is what you're going to get out of him, a great leader. I think he molds with that locker room. And he may not have, jumped into the first round, but I think he jumped to the high second-round picks.
Okay, what do you think, Ball?
Well, I'm going straight up to North Broad Street here.
Oh, I love it.
I'm going to Temple. Rock Ya-Sin. You know, he's a one-year player at Temple. And I think when players and scouts and everybody are around him right now, I think he's in that first-class conversation right now. First round, I think we saw him at the Combine. He tested extremely well. But I think when you're around him, you realize this kid is unentitled. He belongs. He competes. We saw him at the Senior Bowl and a variety of different places. And every time I think people around him, they realize this guy has got the stickiness you need, the competitive fire you need. And I think what he did this week helped him.
Temple tough, for sure. Guys, the draft, it is right around the corner. For more knowledge like this, check out Path to the Draft Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
All right, gang, all the cool kids think they know who the next big thing from this draft class is going to be, but EDH Simba 7, here's to hoping Haskins is the future of my New York Giants' next big thing. Bucky Brooks, big fan of Mr. Haskins, so we will see. And last but not least, this guy says, my next best thing, primetime Jet. The guy is primed to be as good, if not better, than his cousin. Of course, that's Antonio Brown. Hashtag Hollywood. He may want to pump the brakes just a little bit because we know how good Antonio Brown is, and hopefully he will be that good for the Oakland Raiders. Okay, we asked the fans out there who's going to be the next big thing, but Mike, you're our guest on the show today.
Yeah.
Who do you think the next big guy is going to be?
I'm going to give you a little FCS love right now.
Oh, okay.
And us short guys, we got to stick together.
Okay.
Andy Isabella, University of Massachusetts, 1,700 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns, over 100 catches for UMass. Went to the Senior Bowl, played inside of the Senior Bowl slot, scored a touchdown there as well, and then ran a 4.3 at the Combine.
Okay.
Somebody's going to get a steal with this kid.
Next big thing. Okay. All right. What do you think? Who's the next big thing?
The next big thing for me, but he's also a sleeper in this draft. I'm going to show Fresno State a little love. Wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson. Not that Keyshawn Johnson,
one.
but Fresno State Keyshawn Johnson. This guy, I saw him in the Combine. You're talking about smooth. He looks smooth. I liked everything I saw about him. Guy last year, he caught over 1,300 yards. Career-wise, 20-something touchdowns. I like what I saw with him.
Really good,
like a young Reggie Wayne.
Hey, I love it.
That's right. That's right.
I love it.
He was thinking that. I love it.
Next big thing.
So with all these defensive ends, you got to have someone to protect the quarterback, save the man's life. Jawan Taylor from Florida as a tackle, right? He plays right tackle,
Really?
projected as a right tackle.
Ugly.
And they're not really saying top 10, top 5 guy, but I mean, I think some teams are going to get nervous when you start seeing the Josh Allen, the Nick Bosa, and these teams get picked. You got to have someone to protect him. So I think Jawan's a good football player. He may be projected towards the end of the first round, but I think that he's going to go a little bit higher than he expects.
Okay. Nobody asked me, but I'm going with Hakeem Butler out of Iowa
We wasn't
State.
going to ask you what your
He has
next
a
big thing was.
7-foot wingspan. He's been working out with Calvin Johnson.
Let's go.
Something tells me when he hits the league, he's going to be a whole lot better than Reggie Wayne. For Mike Giardi and David Carr, we'll see you later. Have a great weekend.